Welcome to Telltale Books videos. I'm here for the next of my videos about Harlan Ellison, going through everything I can get my hands on of Harlan Ellison's fiction from the very beginning. Starting with ones that, well, they were published mostly in fanzines. I've already covered the Gloconda, the Sword of Parmegon, and the Annals of the Aardvark. This video I want to cover, and again, these are all stories that were not professionally published. They were published in the science fiction fanzines in the early 1950s, starting with The Little Boy Who Loved Cats in July of 1954. That story was published in a fanzine called Psychotic in July of 1954. And in it, most of these are extremely short stories that I'm going to cover today. That's why I'm covering like 5 stories all in one video. This one, some parents start to see their young boy starting to behave a lot like a cat, like a kitten. The story is told humorously. It's told very well, but it isn't anything great. Next one, Vista. This was published in December of 1954 in a magazine called Deviant. Now, the fanzine. In this one, you have a creature. You don't know if it's alien or not. It seems like it's taught. It seems like the story is referring to an alien on an alien world, but this could be Earth also. And this creature is lamenting its fate as it is the last of its kind after wars have completely destroyed its world. And is told from kind of inside the mind, inside the thoughts of the creature. It's a one-page story, very short, very cool story though. Really interesting. And the style and the kind of feel or attitude of the story is starting to seem a lot like mature Harlan Ellison. So if you can find it, I'm finding these things online. They're very good. The next one I read was Parasite, which was published in the FAPA newsletter sometime in 1955. And in this one, an alien has designs of conquering the Earth. It's that basic, that simple. That's really all there is to it. It's got a dark ending. A very strange story, but really good story. It's worth checking that one out too. And then the Saga of Machine Gun Joe was published in Sundial in January 1955, another fanzine. In this story, it's about a guy who's nicknamed Machine Gun Joe. He's your typical G.I. Joe, run out in the middle of the machine gun fire and blast everything in sight kind of comic book war hero. He charges up a hill with his machine gun to face the enemy. This is taking place in the Korean War. And the story has kind of a twist ending that is really interesting, really fascinating, very ironic. Can't say anything more than that without ruining it. This again is an extremely short story. Also in January 51, also in Sundial, was published The Wilder One. In this one, it's about a guy who's a biker. He's in a bar, and there's a biker woman, and he goes up and tries to talk to her, tries to get him to dance with him. It's a little more, Harlan Ellison wrote a number of books about street gangs, and this seems to be coming from his interest in that subject. And the story is very short again and has an interesting take on things, but here again, I can't tell anything more than that without giving away the story. But in such a short story, this is like 2 pages or something like that, extremely short. We're talking about short stories here. But he did a really good job of bringing out a fair amount about those 2 characters in such a short story. It's really good for that. And like I say, you see more and more Ellison moving towards being a professional here. Also in January 1951, in a fanzine called Abstract, he published A Walk Around the Block. And the basic idea, there's not too much synopsis. It's about a guy going for a walk around the block. And while he's walking, he's thinking, can you will something out of existence? If you think that something no longer exists, will it actually disappear? And of course, you can probably guess what comes of that. But it's well written. It is an interesting idea. Somebody had to write it, even though it's something I think everybody thinks about. If something's not in your sight, is it really there? So it's a nice little story. And I'm going to touch on one more, even though this one was after the first professional publication that I'm going to talk about in the next video. This one was published in October of 1955 in a fanzine called Infinity. Title is Star Route. And the synopsis is, a flying saucer lands at the White House and an alien comes out of it. What does the alien want? And it has a kind of humorous twist ending, which I don't want to spoil. So look that one up also and find, like I say, some of these were published in a newsletter that Susan Ellison published. Some of these you can find PDFs of the fanzines on the internet. If you do some digging, you can come across these stories and read them if you really want to. Like I say, none of this is mature Ellison yet, even though it's gradually pointing the way towards his great short stories. He's not there yet. He's still learning. But by 55, he was in college, I believe. There's a number of things about Harlan Ellison that you can look up that were published at the very, very early start of his career. So I hope you enjoyed that. Come back, like us, subscribe us, leave comments, and I hope to have you come back for the next video.